Hey friends, welcome to the Equipping Podcast from Citylight Church in Omaha. Our goal is to help you grow in wisdom and love for God and neighbor. We hope this episode encourages and equips you in your walk with God.
Yeah.
So we're here to solve the most important question of the day. I
thought this was the opposite. We're going to get some clicks because we're going to talk about something people are talking about.
On the count of three, we're going to go thumbs up or thumbs down to AI.
1, 2, 3.
I'm not doing that. Well, we're talking about AI.
Yeah, we're going to talk about AI. And I want to preface this. I think we're probably going to have 2, 3, maybe different conversations around AI.
Who knows? And
it's not because we're so fascinated with AI that we need to take lots to talk about it. It's because there's different topics here.
Yeah. And
they have totally different meaning. Like, for instance, somebody might be existentially terrified about like the future and what's going to happen with the robot takeover and all that. Yeah. That's fine. I think we should talk about it. I think there are theological implications about how God takes care of us and whose world are we living in that are worth talking about.
Somewhere, I mean, depending on how you write them, there's somewhere between 5 and 15 major issues that
exactly.
AI kind of could cause or bring up.
Exactly. So I wanted to frame. I thought of framing this conversation though. So there's moral implications and there's creativity and there's theological, and all of those are important. And we're always going to touch on all of those. But I think one of my first starting question was something like this: if AI stopped improving today, it just stayed the way it is. It's just this is the tool we have.
We're not predicting the future.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with robot takeover. We're talking about what exists just continues to be spread through the world, like Excel or something, like a spreadsheet or websites. If AI stopped improving today, its impact would keep spreading, right?
Yeah.
How should Christians use AI faithfully today?
Sure.
Is my question.
Yeah. Well, and let me just back up for just a second. We'll restate the question in a second, but it's worth saying that theology is essentially just following what Scripture says, like trying to describe what Scripture says about God, about ourselves, about sin, about salvation, but also about the key moral questions of our day. Mm-hmm. And the Bible was written, a long time ago. So
several years ago.
Yeah.
We're in the second or third edition now.
Yeah. Well, not quite 4,000 years ago is when it started. Yeah. And the last book was closed, sometime after
less than 2,000
less than 2,000 years ago. There you go. That's helpful. But if the Bible has authority in our lives, which we say that the Bible is God's word to us and that it's meant to guide us in what we believe and then how we act in the world. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that we keep coming into new missiological contexts. Like I could stay in one place for 300 years and the place changes. Yeah. And AI is maybe the biggest thing on the horizon that is making this a new missiological context.
The Bible doesn't say anything specific about calorie-free drinks.
Right.
And yet we could ask questions. What does it mean to drink something that does nothing?
Yeah, and
in the same way, the Bible is not going to tell us everything about everything in very explicit terms, naming those things, and yet,
if you wanted to basically say, look, the Bible has to say something explicitly about it, or it's just an issue of freedom, you could go that route, and you could say, look, all of this is permitted because the Bible doesn't forbid it, right?
Right.
I don't think that's actually how the Bible exercises authority.
Right.
The Bible exercises authority,
and that falls apart pretty ridiculously, pretty quickly.
Oh, right. You could cite ridiculous examples.
Yeah, several things that everybody knows are horrific, but just because they're not talked about in the Bible, we all know they're bad.
There's several people who have proposed an analogy. I think this is an analogy, although my doctoral mentor talks a lot about how the Bible itself is a sort of script for the drama that God is acting out in the world, right? But the analogy is, suppose that you have this... someone finds this lost Shakespearean play. It's a 5-act play. We've only got 4. We found 4. And then the question is, how do you write the last act? The point of the analogy is that you'd have to know really well where the plot was going and who the characters were up to that point in order to make any sort of statements about what you should do in the last act. And I think that this is kind of where we sit. Is we have a lot of new ethical questions that are on the table in front of us, and we have to understand thoroughly what God is doing and what who humanity is and what we're made for, and kind of the way that sin works and the characteristics.
Questions that weren't twinkles in anyone's eyes, right? Like fertility.
These new questions.
Yeah, like some of the fertility methods that are out there today. It's like Abraham did not think about these things.
Yeah.
Right?
He didn't have to come to Sarah and say, okay, let's talk about in vitro. Is it on the table?
What are we going to do with the other eggs?
Yeah.
That was never a question.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, all that to say, I think it's important for us to address new questions that they come up. And I think it's part of the task of a theologian. I'm not talking like a professional here. I'm just talking like anybody who reads the Bible and tries to apply it is a theologian in that sense.
Probably you, if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Let me ask, so one of the things that we talk a lot about in our classes, and it comes up in sermons at Citylight every now and then, is this framework about the sort of core relationships in the kingdom of God. Right?
Yeah. We sometimes call it the kingdom dimensions.
Yeah, kingdom dimensions. And it's sort of this vertical one that is primary, that is our relationship to our God. And it's primarily, it's worship.
Because God breathed life into us.
He sustains us. He gives us life. And we worship him and we obey him. And then there's a horizontal one that is what we would maybe call community, or we would call it symbolized right at the beginning with Adam and Eve, right? It's this relationship of the man,
the social aspect
to the rest of of society. So the social aspect and our relationship and our responsibilities to each other. And then there's a responsibility and relationship to the land, which also sustains us, and we sustain it and govern it and everything else. And we sometimes think of that vocationally. What am I called to do?
And in that sense, we image God just as God created by ordering and naming and all those things to bring about goodness in the world.
And if this is the first time hearing those, believe me when I say, once I've said this and you've listened and heard this, you will see this everywhere you go. Like right away, God is blessing them in these three dimensions. Abraham, he's touching on these dimensions. David, right from the beginning to the end of the Bible.
The Abrahamic promise, land, seed, and blessing is those three dimensions. And we actually could add a fourth. And the fourth is maybe more implied in the text. We talk about the three because when you get to the curse, there's exile, top one broken. There is pain in childbearing and conflict in marriage, the second one broken. And then the bottom one, which is pain in cultivating the land or the ground.
Difficult to raise crops.
Like they're really obvious, but the other one maybe that's less obvious is the fact that God commands them to govern themselves, right? Like he says, eat of any of these, but don't eat of this one, right? And the words of God then are meant to be a self-governing framework, right? And so there is a relationship even to self, that I talk to myself and I govern myself, right?
And so the reason I bring all those up is because that's actually the framework. So we're gonna relaunch our question here, or restate our question here, but that's actually the framework that I thought would be a good way to talk through AI, thinking about AI practically today. How should the average person engage with or not engage with AI?
So so this episode is a kind of a theological framework for thinking practically about it.
Exactly. So I do want to restate that question. If AI stopped improving today, so again, we're not talking about whatever nightmare scenario. If AI stopped changing and improving today, its impact would keep spreading. The question is, how should Christians faithfully deal with it today? We sometimes talk a little bit, maybe admiringly, about the Amish, choosing to reject technologies as they come in. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and he sort of said the same thing about AI. He said, well, this kind of assumes step two. We're kind of on step two, not step one. Step one is obviously we're going to adopt AI. Question is how, right? And he's right to an extent that this does assume that. But I think that is actually a fair question. It's always worthwhile, I think, to take a step back and go, well, hold on. Do I need a cell phone.
Would it be possible to?
Would
to
it be
live without
possible?
this?
Yeah, and would it be beneficial for my family, for instance, to have no social media? Or
and
something
I
like
don't know. Maybe you don't want to go down this rabbit trail, but I mean, it does seem like there is a there's a big gap in terms of like there are people who are going to, as a community and as a kind of a small society, say, okay, we're opting out of technologies unless they obviously benefit us, like the Amish, right? And then there's the rest of us, who are like, the default answer is yes, we adopt technology, but we might pull it back in some ways, right?
Right. Exactly. So starting off with this idea, this relationship to God, right? This thing. The first question you could ask is, surely AI is not affecting the way people surely nobody would bring AI into their prayer closet.
Sure.
Or their sermon prep. Wait a second.
Nobody listening here will have said, "Can you write me a prayer?"
Right. Or help me write a sermon.
Yeah,
or
sure.
what have all the great prayers said about
Yeah.
And so don't. Well, I bring that up because that was my first. At first, that sounds ridiculous, but here we are already. We're already way past the starting line on this one, right? I watched a video relatively recently about a guy who was interviewing Christian music creators, and he was talking about the use of AI and asking them A, how they use it, and B, what they think about what they think about it.
Yeah,
and it just, a large question behind the scenes of this whole thing was, so I think one guy said something like, it would be wrong for AI to help write worship music because of the spiritual. Because the Spirit of God, this is the writer speaking of Christian music, because the Spirit of God is acting through me, through the radio, into your worship when you listen to me, and God is speaking to you, and that should not involve AI.
Right.
And it made me take a big step back and go, I think I agree with his vote, where he's landing. Yeah. But his statement was so strong about what God is doing through his music that I was kind of like, is it though?
Right. You're kind of pitchy.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, before, 3 years ago, the joke was just, is Christian contemporary music even music? And now they've been accepted, anyway. And so it's so I thought of worship lyric, but also people are talking to AI a lot more. I have conversations with AI all the time, and I do talk about theological things. I talk about, if I run these ideas through it. I think of it very much like a whiteboard or a bulletin board, something for me to sort of interact with from an idea standpoint.
Right.
But is it that simple?
Christianity Today just came out with a statement about their authors. They cannot use AI.
Cannot use AI even
in the creative process. They can't use it for writing. Right.
Which is, I don't even know how would they know?
Yeah.
Well, and where do you draw the line, I guess? The Pope just came out with an encyclical on AI. Did you know this?
I've got it sitting right
Yeah,
over there.
I haven't read it yet. I downloaded it too.
I've read a page and a half so far.
Yeah, it's Pope talk, which is rough. I mean, he writes like the King James. He writes like he's still Shakespeare.
So, I mean, what are the issues at stake here? What are we up against?
I don't know. I think our gut, the things that we immediately go is authenticity. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Right.
And it's funny because I almost recoil, that almost makes me go, oh, well, maybe it doesn't matter then. It's because maybe...
Why?
What?
Why do you say that?
Well, because we get so caught up in authenticity anyway. We get so caught up in this prayer needs to be my freest, truest expression of my heart. Yeah, or it can't be just me reciting some old prayers from some Puritan or some church father or something like that. That if it's that, then it's not my heart. And I would push back against those, right? I would say, I don't know, those prayers are recorded and written down, and Christ prescribes to us a way to pray. Is it wrong to say exactly back those words, at least the English translation of those words, as I understand them, and to follow that? Mm-hmm. And so authenticity.
So yeah, at a gut level, you want to dismiss that.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, at a gut level, I want to go the exact opposite.
You're like, that's the key.
I do think it is a key. Yeah, and part of this is just working these ideas out.
Yeah. We didn't have this
in real time here
planned out, right? We planned to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a linkage. So the way you're using authenticity would be like my most authentic self is that
spontaneous
deep, spontaneous emotional reaction. And for me, it's a broader worry, which is more about like, there's something that seems intuitively right where when like to think is to basically search your sort of your tacit sort of pool of understanding for the right words to say what you mean. And so meaning like when I say words, like I'm not just reading someone else's script, I'm saying what I mean. Like it's coming from me, and therefore it's something I mean. And it feels like when I'm not the source of my own ideas, there's something. There's a thin layer between me and where I become almost an actor who's performing a script rather than someone who actually means that. Does that make sense?
No, totally get that. That said, not to be like, what is this? I think it'd be philosophy 101. Especially a kid who's blown away by philosophy 101 and then smoking pot afterwards in his dorm room. But like, man, none of your words are, what the heck? I wonder if anything's still on.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Well, power just went off for a second. But like none of your words are your own, right? Like so much of what we're saying is synthesized from the books that we've read and from the person that we're really influenced.
No, I disagree. I disagree. And the reason I disagree is because yes, okay, so I internalize other people's ideas, but what happens is I take those ideas and I generate. I mean, think of it as like I'm building a structure of understanding.
Sure. Do you not do that if you use AI?
It's possible to read something and internalize it and make it part of your structure of understanding. There's a difference between asking AI a question and internalizing and learning from that answer, and maybe even pursuing a couple other side trails to get a firm grasp on it, and asking it to write something.
Sure. Okay.
You just
so
use.
I think that's good. No, that's good. I think that's a pretty clear separation, I think, between the two ideas we're talking about. Because I don't know that I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm suggesting that using if you ask AI to write a song and it outputs the song and then you say that was my authentic, obviously I agree with that. I guess what I'm pushing back against this is this idea that that you can't use it in the creative process, and still be authentic, any more than you can flip through a magazine of somebody else's work. Searching for ideas as a home decor person, right?
Well, I don't want to lose sight of the thread here, because we're asking the theological question.
Yeah. Right? So this is like,
and part of, I think, the linkage for us is this idea that the Spirit is in us.
What is it that God is asking from us?
Right.
In our interactions with Him.
Yeah. And there's a book out there called Creator Spirit, which emphasizes the creativity of the Holy Spirit. And there's there's a lot of books on theology and the arts that talk about this also, that there is something in the imago that where God is creative, and therefore we also are creative in being in the image of God. But then also that the Spirit, that's one of the things the Spirit does in us is illumine us to do creative acts which brings about goodness in the world. And so I do find that objection compelling. Like I wouldn't.
I think part of the
he might be overstating the extent to which his music is illumined by the Spirit.
Right.
But
exactly.
but I still do think that there's something important. I mean, there's been so many times, just anecdotally, where I'm preaching, where like I feel like there's a burden from the Spirit to say this particular thing or in this particular way, or to add this or that. And I think that a sensitivity to the Spirit's work is a core part of what it means to be creative, right?
Yeah. So if I was gonna, I think it sounds like I'm trying to argue that we should use AI to interface with our God, which I certainly don't.
I've learned that the way that I can make you
make an argument.
say absurd things is to just force to say something that forces you to take the opposing view.
So even if let me make the opposing argument just for a second. Let's imagine that
you believe what you're about to say.
Well, let's imagine that I said to an AI agent or an AI LLM, hey, I want to make a sermon. It needs to be 20 minutes long. It's about this text. It needs to hit on these and this points. Here's my audience. Here's the thing. And it spits out this sermon. I read the whole thing and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. I decide to present that on Sunday morning, right? During Sunday morning, I feel like at that point, half of our pastors work from a word for word script, right? Most of the time.
Yeah.
And they are following the lead of the Spirit when they stop and say what they feel like they should say, regardless of whether they wrote out word for word the script or are following this AI's word for word script. So I would argue that what you said is still there, right? But I'm actually not arguing for that, I guess, at all. In fact, what I am arguing
that
for...
still doesn't get over my earlier critique.
No. And I'm not arguing for outputting lots of Christian music or prayers or sermons and saying that is my duty to God. Because even if... I think part of the problem has nothing to do with AI. My theory in general is that most of the answers here have very little to do with AI and a lot to do with our problems as society, and AI is just highlighting them. Right. And one of the problems in our society is the idea that output and content is the most important thing. Most important thing, And if output and content is the most important thing, then AI is just going to help me make more of it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But if even the content or the output of my sermon or my prayer or my Christian song, even the output of the content of that is only secondary to the work that I did on my knees and before my God and in searching my soul and the scriptures and all that, if it's actually more important to God that I did that work for me because he loves me, that's formative, right? If that's more important than whether or not the song goes to the radio, right? Then actually it is irrelevant that I made 10 songs using AI or one song using blood, sweat, and tears. What mattered was that I didn't do the blood, sweat, and tears. And I guess somehow if I do go through that process where I do soul search and read the scriptures and pray and all this other stuff, and I did it with 10 songs, I wonder if it, again, there's still a question of how much is too much. But the key would be that we don't shortcut our formation. Because you can't shortcut formation. If you skip formation in order to be formed, then you miss the whole thing. What is it's like? Well, I wanted to be cheesy. I'd say that the journey is more important than the destination. Yeah.
Well, and maybe what I would add to that too is that anytime you are saying something to another person, the classic rhetorical three are logos, pathos, and ethos, right? And logos would be the content of what you're saying. Pathos, maybe you're sort of appealing to the emotion.
Yeah, how you're saying it.
Emotions of the audience in getting it across. But then the ethos is about your character and your credibility. And I think that it's one of the things that I talk about even just in our Bible studies. We don't use videos of other teachers. Why? Because people don't know them. Paul, when he went to visit a church, he was saying he's saying not just what he said to them, but also just the way that he served them and the ways that he sacrificed for them.
Look at how I was here when I needed this.
And preaching is a relationship, and when you're borrowing someone else's words, you're actually, what you're doing is you're creating a false version of yourself that as a sort of put this out there as a supposal. Suppose I'm this brilliant. Suppose I'm this persuasive and all these things, and go with that one. But you're creating distance between your sermon and who you fundamentally are.
Well, and it's funny because I think my main objection to, so there was another guy that said in this whole Christian music
I have a much more important objection, but finish what you're saying first.
Right.
No, finish it.
Well, the one of the guys was saying that he basically said, well, I'll know. Right, you could tell the difference between good Christian music and bad Christian music, and that objection falls very flat to me. But it gets to why this whole thing falls flat is because his idea is that it's just not as good yet. My problem is even if it is as good, it's kind of the reverse, but still same point that we've talked about from Brian Hanson's book several times, is that. We've said if the person's staying in their mother's basement, playing video games and looking at stuff they shouldn't look at, that society's answer is, well, at least they're not causing trouble. Our answer is, well, yeah, but they also should be causing good. Right? Yeah. This is almost the opposite of that. It's like, even if you were putting out truly excellent material in mass, tens of thousands of times what you could because of you're using AI, my problem is you're still missing the part that you were supposed to do for you. Right. Right? Yeah. The part on your knees is
100%.
Was maybe what God wanted more. It'd be like,
and this is among the most serious concerns I have with AI in general, is that so many of the things that make life worth living, but also, are essential to doing good work in lots of different fields, are things that require someone to go through intense struggle and difficulty in order to form capacities in themselves. And anything that basically shortcuts the struggle weakens the person.
You could imagine a child coming to a father. A metaphor here would be the father would be God or whatever. But you could imagine a child coming to a father and saying, "Hey, look, I know you told me to come and ask whenever I needed bread, but I found a way to infinitely make bread." And the father would be like, "Well, the whole point was that you come to me. Sure. I wanted the relationship."
Well, that's actually my deeper one. But let me give you another analogy about the formative one. So you can imagine like a weightlifter who has this robotic attachment that hooks up to their legs, and they're in the gym and they're like, I'm squatting 600 pounds.
Look how much I can squat. Yeah.
And you're like, are you? Though?
Like who cares?
Like the whole point of going through the process of squatting and squatting and squatting is so that you can squat 600 pounds, not this attachment. But the other thing that you're mentioning, I think, is really important because there's so many times in the Old Testament, but particularly it begins in the Exodus, right? Just after the Exodus, he takes them out of the wilderness. And why? So they could be miserable. So
that they couldn't eat meat anymore and would die in the wilderness. That's what the people said, right?
That's what they said. But basically, they don't have water, they don't have bread, they don't have meat, and they're just pining for all these things. And he says, this is about the wilderness wandering later, but he says that why did I make you wander in the wilderness? It's so that you would learn that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And the whole point of it was to teach them dependence. And so
not to teach them how to discover the infinite source of bread and meat pots.
And so there's warnings even against other technologies of the day. So Psalm 20 has one of them where it says, "Don't trust in chariots." Right? It's just like there is this tendency in humankind to latch on to the technology because what it has the promise of making me more capable and more powerful. And when I get more capable and more powerful, then I can do more, and I can assume that, I've got this. I've got this. And you forget that your ultimate dependency is on God. And I think that's a road that we're well down. I mean, both of us have computers open here in front of us right now.
With the same screen on them. We could have a piece of paper.
we could. But I just think that the biggest danger to us from a theological perspective is inflation, like an overestimate of ourselves. We've created this false version of ourselves who's very eloquent, and we think that's me. Like I'm that eloquent, and I don't need anything then. Like I'm amazing. And the Christian walk, I mean, this is where we just thank God for the sufferings that we hate, because so many of those things run us up aground with our incapacity. And we have to learn that we don't live by AI. We don't live by our car. Or
I think it's an interesting, I hear you, and I agree with you. I think it's an interesting tension, though, because all of my friends who work at the church, right, all of them, to a person, are overworked. They would say, they feel. I'm not saying the church is overworking, but they feel like they feel they're so busy. They're pulled a million different directions. They could put in twice as many hours, and they still would have stuff to do.
Personally, this is one of my greatest vices. Right. Is that I try to project an image that I'm omnicompetent by stealing hours all over the place.
Well, and so I think the temptation here is to say, yes, I agree. We should not, inflate ourselves artificially, and that this tool is possibly a very damaging or very, very seductive way to do that.
Yeah.
But then I think on the side, we're still inflating ourselves everywhere else, and maybe using AI, maybe not. On the one hand, you could hand somebody this tool and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I could get so much more done. Therefore, I'd multiply myself. Therefore. But the flip side is like, even if this is one of those where you could very easily say, and I have never done this.
Right.
I'm glad I don't do that.
Paul Kingsnorth. Yeah. He's never used it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And yet,
and for any time you do that with with one new technology, then someone else could turn and you say, well, what about those? What about the 3 other things you're using?
Yeah. And so I think it's, that's not me arguing for using AI. I actually don't think I think that the simple answer would be in sermon prep, Bible study, worship, lyric writing, devotional reflection, and theological summarization. Probably leave it alone.
Because you want it to be you.
Yeah.
Like you can't just outsource that work.
The thing being developed, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this is part of the problem. That's part of the problem with the guy that came in and said, the music guy that said, well, look what my music is doing. Is I think he had a wrong idea of what's going on there. He had overinflated how valuable his music was to the world and to God, right? What God wants is the relationship with him and with the other people that maybe he's helping form.
Yeah.
But I think that the tendency is always for us to turn in a product and say, I've made more product and I can make more product if I do this.
Yeah.
And I think that AI is an incredibly enticing tool for that.
Well, I think we've been overvaluing the value of
a product.
Of product.
Yeah.
In like Christian publishing industry for a long time.
Even like probably
all the videos and
just
and
in the church
podcasts like this one.
Maybe even like in the church though. And I'm not, this isn't putting anyone down. I hope pastors don't listen to this and think I get a wrong idea about their sermons, but maybe half of the job is it's great that they create a sermon, but the part of the product is their formation. They're becoming the kind of person who could preach that sermon.
Yeah, and and their relationship with the people that it will definitely help.
The sermons that seem to impact me the most are the ones that clearly the pastor has wrestled with himself throughout the whole week and comes to saying, I've realized this and this and this about myself.
100%.
And that's that whole, like, it's not just create a great sermon. Yeah. It's become the kind of person who could honestly preach that great sermon, and you can't become that kind of person if you just output that sermon for free.
Yeah, no, you have to go through the struggle, and there's a what you're saying is 100% true. I mean, the sermons that I have preached, that I feel like God was in that, are all have one thing in common, which is that they break me.
They're painful for you.
Yeah, they cause me to come to see myself more clearly and to say, boy, I need your mercy and grace.
We want to try and deal with a second area, or are we out of time?
Maybe we'll go through.
Did we say three AI sermons or three AI talks? Maybe this is the whole podcast from here on out.
Yeah. There's gonna be a few topics about AI, but I do think that at the end of the day, obviously we can't outsource our relationship with God to AI, but I do think that this should cause us to really stop and wonder how deeply we're buying into this lie that our outputs are what's important. Like what is a discipleship? A mature Christian coming alongside another Christian and saying, this is the way. And you can't outsource that.
Right.
Like it's not that you haven't found the right video or that you haven't found the right book. And I think videos and books can be helpful, which is partly why we're doing this in the first place. But genuinely, we are witnesses of what God is doing and of what God has done in our own lives through His Word and by His Spirit.
So. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, well, we'll cut it there. We'll come back, and next time we'll talk about the other dimensions.
Sure.
Until next time.